So very generically, the Tatalina area is accessed by mile 42 to mile 50.5 roughly, excuse me, of the Elliott Highway. It's accessible by ATV, snow machines, the primary access. It's right up along the highway there. Of very important note, although the highway runs right in front of the parcel, do not expect to get direct access from the highway to your parcel. It's a DOT maintained right-of-way, DOT maintained highway, and they are very possessive of access, onto and off of that highway. As such, you can apply for a driveway permit to connect to the surface of the highway if you do choose to construct a driveway, but they may either deny it or they may require that you consolidate that access with other parcels. So they may ask that when you're coming off of the highway, you go back in, whatever, at a specified location and then use either the outer limits of the right-of-way or the state land adjacent to that to get access to the parcel. So just bear that in mind. So the area has two fire management options. That portion of the area west of the Tatalina River is going to be full, and the area to the east is limited. Areas with limited fire management option receive a low priority for initial attack if there's a fire in the area. So again, very important to follow those fire-wise principles. The area of the east is full, so it has a higher priority, but as noted again, if it's too dangerous to go in there and fight that, they're not going to go in there and try and defend that structure. It's Game Management Unit 20B, similar to the vast majority of the area surrounding the Fairbanks area, and it is in the unorganized borough presently, so subject to the State of Alaska Planning Authority. There is private property up and along the Tatalina Highway here within the staking instruction. So within the staking area, the majority of the area, or the parcel within the staking area, are state land survey parcels, if not all of them. So specifically refer to the website for the individual surveys of these parcels and your survey key to get information as to where they are. So the survey plats will help you identify where access easements are. For those parcels that were conveyed by the state, there will be an access easement along interior lot lines. I believe all of these are 30 feet. Some of the older ones had 25, but I don't know if any of those are included in Tatalina. But there's access easements along lot lines. Check the survey plats before going out there. Of a specific note, the U.S. surveys, the two larger parcels there that are just outside of the staking area, do not have lot line easements, so you need to be outside of that parcel. If you were going to be using private parcels to access the area, please contact the private property owner if you're going to be doing any development along there, because they have private property rights specifically for that. There we go. All right. So specifically, there's a 300-foot buffer from the center line of the Elliott Highway, so measure as accurately as possible from the Elliott Highway if you can. We have a couple of reserved areas in here along the area to reserve access to the uplands outside of the area and such. There's a setback from the Tatalina River that roughly bisects the area. Wait, I'm sorry, the highway bisects the area. Tatalina River does not. Anyway, there's a 60-foot easement along the bed of the old highway, and it's also subject to 2 other 60-foot easements on those ADL trails. And then you may not stake across any one of those. There may be other trails. In fact, there is a trapping trail within the staking area there, and it's actually marked out, says trap line, no trespassing. There's no power of law behind that sign. You may use that. It is across public land, or at least the beginning of it at least is across public land, and I'm not sure the entire status of it. You may use that trap line trail. It is public land. You have a right to access that. However, please be respectful of the trapping activities that are going on out there. It is unlawful to disturb a trapping, cabin, or to willfully a trapping activity. So it's unlawful to willfully disturb it. So please don't mess with the traps. All right, so for Snake Lake, access to Snake Lake is primarily via, and I'm not going to pronounce or I'm not going to attempt to pronounce the actual name of that because I know I'd butcher it. So it's accessible by float plane, by ski plane, by boat. It may be accessible by ATV in the summertime, but trail conditions are going to be significantly limited. Of specific note, there's a large amount of native land in the property, so be cognizant if you're staking in the area or if you're planning to access. You need permission to access there. There is a road that actually goes down to Snake Lake there, but the road is across Chog Corporation land, so be cognizant of the adjacent private property rights there. So The summertime access may be difficult getting to the area, so just bear that in mind when accessing it. So the area has a limited fire management option. So again, a low priority for initial attack should a fire come through the area. It's Game Management Unit 17C, and it is within the unorganized borough, so no current plating authority or taxing or zoning authority. There is private property along a large portion of Snake Lake, particularly up on the northern end of Snake Lake. There's a large subdivision with a lot of private property. Refer to your survey key and the website for individual survey information on those parcels. There's also a large survey, a large U.S. survey at the northern end of that lake. And there is generically a setback from basically the southern end and the northern end of that right around the area. But that is private property up there in the yellow at the end of that. So whereas again, the Alaska State Land Survey parcels do have an easement along the lot lines, the U.S. surveys do not. So bear that in mind for access purposes. There is a 100-foot setback from the anadromous streams within the area, but not from the lake itself. And refer to your supplemental staking instructions for information on that. And then there's a couple reserved areas around both the stream, and you'd have to refer to the supplemental staking instructions. I can't recall the distance offhand, but from both the anadromous stream at the north end of the lake and from the locally named Pete's Pond at the far end of that as well. So there are no trails in the area that have been identified and reserved with easements. That said, if there are trails identified later, or if there's a trail that's determined to be active and in use at the time of staking, if they identify that during the survey process, then it will be reserved with a 60-foot easement across or through or along that parcel where that's located. That said, a lot of the access in there is likely by snow machine, and snow machine access during the winter time typically does not leave much of a footprint on the ground, specifically to find later on. Who would be a Dillinger River staker? All right, excellent, got a few of them. All right, so we did actually determine, I think, that this photograph here is actually stock photography. We don't believe that this is actually from within the Dillinger River staking area, though I can't actually confirm nor deny that statement. And thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
So access to the Dillinger River is by float plane, ski plane, or potentially a snow machine, or ATV if trail conditions allow. So boat via the South Fork of the Kuskokwim River. Additionally, the Iditarod Trail runs off to the west of the area, so you can potentially have winter access near the area, then crossing the South Fork of the Kuskokwim River conditions, depending upon on the condition there. It's a limited fire management option. It's within Game Management Unit 19C, and this also is within the unorganized borough, so there's no current taxing or zoning authority present within the area. There is private property scattered throughout the area, specifically the two larger lakes within the northwest corner, a little bit up along the Dillinger and Jones River, and there's a couple of lakes off on the eastern end that do have private property. Again, refer to your survey key in your staking packet and the surveys located on the website for more information on those and the easements associated with them. There's a 100-foot staking setback from the South Fork of the Kuskokwim River, and there is a reserved area about between the two large lakes there in the northwestern portion there. There is a trapping cabin located within the reserved area there between those two lakes. So be cognizant of that, and it's a valid authorized existing activity, so please don't disturb it. Additionally, if any other improvements are found within the area, it's a requirement to stake a minimum of 330 feet away from improvements that are out there, whether authorized or not, within the stake area. There are no easements that we've identified within the boundary there. That said, there's likely to be trails within the area. So if there's existing trails that are active and in use at the time of staking, they will be reserved with a 60-foot easement through or along any staked parcels within the area. So